Please choose your skill level.
Please choose your skill level. Hello and welcome to Loom. So, we need to choose our skill level.
Please choose your skill level.
Okay, I got it. I'm going to go for practice. Now, that may seem like I'm being a wuss, but I will explain in a moment why.
Please choose your skill level.
Okay, I take the hint. I'm going to get started. Let's choose practice. Let's get started on Loom.
Welcome to the age of the great guilds.
Yes, indeed. So the reason I've just chosen practice is because it doesn't actually make the game any easier, apart from it very slightly alters the interface. And Loom is different to other point-and-click adventure games in the way that you actually control it and solve the puzzles. You don't sort of possess and utilise different items like you do in the majority of other point-and-click games. You use your Weaver's distaff, which we will see in just a few minutes. Basically, how it works is very unique and very interesting. You actually weave spells into the fabric of reality using a musical scale. That sounds weird, but we'll see in a moment how it works. Anyway, I'm just going to shut up for a minute because something's about to happen.
Rise, son of Cygna. It is the dawn of your 17th year. The elders await you in the sanctuary.
I've never known them to weave such a bright messenger nymph. I wonder why the elders want to see me. I'd better get down to the village.
Okay, press F9 to toggle text on screen on or off. I am going to have that on. Text will appear on the screen, just because sometimes it can be a little hard to hear what they're saying. What with this being an early 90s CD-ROM release, the digitized speech is a little rough quality, I guess you could say. Anyway, hopefully I've got this all mastered right and stuff. So I'm actually playing the VGA remake of Loom, which was the last version of Loom to be released. It was the PC CD-ROM DOS re-release of Loom, which utilised full VGA graphics and for the first time had full digitised voice acting, as opposed to just subtitles, which LucasArts point-and-click adventures had up until this point. This isn't necessarily the definitive version of Loom. There is also the FM Towns version, which a lot of people, including Loom's creator Brian Moriarty, said is actually the definitive version. The reason I'm not playing the FM Towns version is simply because I quite like the voice acting in this version. Normally I would have good fun just reading out the lines of dialogue, but I figured while the FM Towns version graphically is quite similar to this, I kind of want the voice acting because I think it's quite good. Anyway, let's get started with Loom. Let's just examine this leaf.
The last leaf of autumn.
Yes, indeed. There's the sky, which for some reason we can't examine from here. Anyway, I'm going to go down onto this path. We need to head into the village and speak to the village elder. And he's going back up to examine the sky for some reason. No, never mind. So, there's a number of strange things about Loom, about the way that it's played. One of them is, well, it's kind of hard to explain without having the distaff available, which we will get soon enough. I'm just going to head down into the village first and foremost. Oops. Okay. So we're on Loom Island. Loom Island is the home of the Guild of Weavers. Now, in the world of Loom, which some have speculated is actually the real world but far in the future, considering that on the Loom timeline this takes place in like the year 8000 or something like that. Basically, there are these different guilds or factions of people including blacksmiths, shepherds, clerics, and of course weavers. Now the weavers are controversial in the world of Loom because they basically use this giant loom to weave patterns into the fabric of reality, and that's seen as a controversial thing to do, so they're basically exiled to this island. And the story of Loom is very interesting, very unique and quite complex, so I'm not going to kind of explain it entirely here. I'm just going to talk about it and talk about my sort of impressions and thoughts about it as things materialise, but most of the time I'm just going to let the game speak for itself.
There's the long tapestry. I don't remember it looking so old and frayed. The threads describe the creation of the world and the passing of the two shadows.
Just going to examine these various tapestries here.
Here's more of the tapestry. The pattern shows the entire history of the weavers, back to the founding of the great guilds.
Oh, okay, sorry, just one moment here. Sorry about that. Just trying to get the everything calibrated. It's quite actually surprisingly challenging to record this game. Have a look at this one.
The last section tells about the decline of the guilds. There's a third shadow gathering. That's strange. The end is completely torn off.
Strange indeed. So the world of Loom, basically a lot happens before this game takes place. And the original release of Loom actually came with an audio cassette or an additional CD, depending on which version you bought, which contained a 30-minute audio drama, which uses a lot of the same voice acting and that sort of thing. And it basically explains the lore of the world up until the point where the game starts. That's unique even by today's standards. I mean, it's quite common for you to get things like cinematic videos or even like comic books, that kind of thing, to supplement the lore of a game. But in the late 80s, early 90s, that was really ambitious and had not really been done before. Loom is very unique and very ambitious in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways it really is quite timeless. You know, this game is over 20 years old and it hasn't really aged at all as far as I'm concerned, and it could definitely do with an HD remaster. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
There's Hetchel. And the elders don't look at all pleased with her.
You have heard the findings of this council, Dame Hetchel. Have you anything to say in your own defense?
My elders, my actions speak for themselves.
This reckless defiance is intolerable. Any secret you share with Cygna's son might be turned against us.
His talent is awakening, and the power is very strong in him. We dare not desert him now.
Stubborn old fool! Who are you to decide such things?
Enough, Lachesis. Hetchel, I am grieved to see your many years of service end in such disgrace.
My destiny is yours to weave.
Hetchel, the fabric of your life has been woven by your own choices.
Gaze once more upon the great Loom, if you would know your ultimate destiny. For that destiny is now upon you.
A swan's egg. What does it mean?
Something is deeply wrong. That draft has never failed before.
What is that noise? Outside!
The guild is under attack.
Who dares to desecrate the great loom of the weavers?
This is the work of that demon boy. We should kill him while we still can.
Your name will be cursed forever, son of Cygna, Loom child, bobbin thread.
My name? But I had nothing to do with this. Wait, where are you going? No explanations. No goodbyes. And once again, I'm left behind.
Right, so, lots going on. So, you aren't necessarily supposed to understand everything that goes on at this point, and I'm not going to ruin the way that the story is told by explaining and spoiling everything at this point, but what happened was they basically tried to inflict a punishment on Dame Hetchel by weaving a spell from the Great Loom onto her. And the spell didn't work entirely as planned, and she turned into a swan's egg. And then a swan actually flew in through the window and turned the rest of them into swans. And then they flew away. Now, basically the reason why they were trying to punish Dame Hetchel is because she was trying to teach Bobbin, who is our character, some of his innate magical abilities. That was something that they had forbade, and the reason why they kind of fear Bobbin and they don't want him to learn any abilities is because he is the Loom child, so he is born of this Loom. He hasn't come into being in a normal way. He has been woven from the Loom by his mother Cygna Threadbare, which is why at the beginning it says, "Rise, son of Cygna." So, yeah. Anyway, things will become more clear as we progress, but I'm not going to hang around anymore. I need to get started on actually playing this game. So what we need to do is pick up the single most important item in this game, which is the distaff.
It's heavier than it looks.
And now you see we have this interface at the bottom, and this is where in a normal point and click game you would have things like talk to, pick up, push, pull, give, use, etc., and you would have a list of your inventory. In Loom, all we have is the distaff. That's all we have, and this window here is used for things that we can interact with using the distaff. In this case, we have the egg. Now, when we examine things in the world, sometimes they will teach us drafts, and drafts are like musical spells that we can use, we can weave using the staff and using this musical scale. And the spells that we weave, the actual combination of notes required to cast them is random every time you play the game. So I actually have a pen and paper with me right now, ready to write down the spells as we learn them. And the reason why I chose practice mode as opposed to standard or expert when we started the game is because in practice mode you can see the notes light up as they play, and it also stores on the distaff the previous spell that you have heard or used. So that is the only thing that it actually changes. In the original EGA version of the game, if you play on anything under expert, then you miss out on one scene, or rather one scene of the game later on is different and you get extra content by playing it on expert, but that's not the case in this VGA version, so we aren't missing out on any of the story or anything like that. It just makes it easier for me to keep track of how we are doing. So I think I've babbled enough about how this works. Now let's examine this egg.
Egg, it's trying to open.
So this combination of notes, E, C, E, D, is our first spell, and that is the open spell. and basically you get a clue by the item that you examine or by his reaction to the item about what the spell you learn actually does. So he said the egg is trying to open, so we know that that spell is the open spell, and so if we cast it with the egg in this reticule here, so we go EC ED, we can open the egg.
There's my boy.
What's happening? The whole village has flown away without us.
From the moment you came into this world, Bobbin, great and terrible things have been happening. The elders hoped that your birth was the cause of it.
Why would the elders want to get rid of me? I'm such an awful weaver that they never even let me study with the others.
They fear you, Bobbin. When the swan arrived, they were already trying to weave the same draft on you that they had worked on me. But the draft turned against them. It means only one thing, that the pattern is failing of its own accord.
No. Can't it be stopped?
Stop chaos? The only thing to do is embrace it and turn ourselves into creatures of shadow, or plan our escape.
Escape? To where?
I don't know. But if we are to survive, we must find out where that flock has flown and join them if we can. You've already found Atropos's distaff. Good. You won't be able to weave very much with it at first, but as you practice, its true power will be revealed to you. It's time to leave this island, Loom child. Your destiny lies beyond the sunset, across the sea.
Mother Hetchel, where are you going?
Goodbye, Bobbin. I must follow the swans.
Well, this is a fine mess. Everybody's gone and I still don't understand what's going on. Why did they keep calling me Loom child? Nobody's ever let me anywhere near a loom.
Right. So, now we can move on with our quest. Now, Hetchel mentioned that Bobbin needs to leave Loom Island and travel across the sea. She said, your destiny lies beyond the sunset, across the sea, or something like that. Basically, compared to a lot of other games of this type, Loom's storytelling is very esoteric, and it doesn't necessarily make it explicitly clear to you what you're supposed to be doing at any given time. That isn't a bad thing, though. The game has a very mysterious and beautiful kind of atmosphere to it, and it's quite short. I mean, by any standard, this is a very short game, but when I was a child playing this, it took me a long time to finish it the first time, just because the way that you explore it is very different to other point-and-click games where you're trying to interact with everything, you're trying to combine all the items that you have and trying to do all these things. Anyway, I'm just going to explore these other tents. Got some gold here.
Don't these people ever clean up after themselves?
Quite.
Wonderful. I can't see a thing.
Okay, not much we can do in here yet. Let's go outside. If we go to the far right, I think we can go into Mother Hetchel's tent. Yes, and this is the Book of Patterns.
That's the Book of Patterns. I already know what's in it.
Indeed. Okay. Okay, the spell that we just learned there is empty. Notice that he tipped the bottle over and the liquid emptied out of it. And notice that that has both F and G in the draft. So we can't cast that yet. But I'm going to make a note of it anyway. And if we look at this cauldron of dye,
Grass green. I hate that colour.
grass green. I don't think English was that guy's. I mean, I don't think that guy's native to the UK. Never mind. So, if we look at this cloth, and then we try that dyeing draft, we should be able to dye it green.
The colour changed.
Yes, indeed. Now, if I remember correctly, let me just try this, just to make sure I can remember how this game works. Yes. So basically,
There. Looks much better in white.
quite. If you weave any spell in reverse, as in you play the notes in the reverse order, it undoes the spell, or rather does it backwards. So we can die and undie, if you see what I'm saying. Okay, I think we're just about done here. Let's move on. Don't think we can go in that tent. No, we can't. Okay, we'll go to the graveyard just above here. Now, the way I'm planning to do this playthrough is not necessarily in set length episodes. I'm going to do it in terms of advancement of the story. So I'm going to do one episode for this area of the game, and regardless of how long that takes, that's going to be the length of the episode. And then the next episode may be longer or shorter, depending on how long it takes me to complete that section. I hope that makes sense. So over here we can see this grave, and there's an owl on the grave.
He's fast asleep.
Now, this grave is the grave of Bobbin's mother, Cygna Threadbare. And we can examine it to get a little clue about the sort of progression of the story. If I can actually do that, please.
I can't read it.
Ah, yes, of
The
course.
owl's tail feathers are covering the words.
There we go. So we'll examine this thorny bush.
Ouch.
Poor bunny. At least now we can read the grave.
Destiny shall draw the lightning down from heaven, roll its thunder far across the sea, to where I wait upon the shore of wonder, on the day the sky is opened and the tree is split asunder.
There you go. So that gives us a little clue about how we can progress. Where it says, far across the sea to where I wait upon the shore of wonder, on the day the sky is opened and the tree is split asunder.
The day the sky is opened.
There you go. Bear in mind, the first draft that we learned when we started was opening. So there's a little clue there.
There's an owl in there.
You need to examine all of these holes.
Another owl.
Okay.
Didn't know there were so many owls in these woods.
All the holes are full now.
Quite. Anyway, what we've just learned there is night vision. Now, I know this game very well because I've played it dozens of times, but it's not necessarily always clear what you have to... I mean, what each spell does or what each thing means. It's deliberately kind of somewhat mysterious. And what that means is that you have to interpret what the owl's spell means. Now, if we go back into the village, you remember there was that tent that was really dark. And of course, owls can see in the dark. Notice that the eyes appear at the bottom when we look at the darkness. So, if we highlight that and then cast the owl's night vision spell, which is CDDC, we should be able to light it up. There we go. And you'll see here there is a pile of gold and a pile of straw and a spinning wheel. So let's examine this. And what we've learned there is the spinning of straw into gold spell. So if we highlight the gold and do this,
I don't think I spun that right.
okay, so it's straw into gold. So if we highlight the straw and do that, turns into gold. And if we highlight the gold and do it backwards, it should turn back into straw. Perfect. So that's that. And what was next? Oh yes, I remember. What we need to do is go back to where we started and we could examine the sky. And remember what was written on Cygna's gravestone. On the day the sky is opened and the tree is split asunder. So we need to look at the sky and cast open. I hope you're now getting a bit of a feel for how the puzzles in this game are played out. So what that does is strikes the tree with lightning, splits it asunder, and then the branch floats down to the jetty. And that's going to form a makeshift boat with which we can get off this godforsaken island.
Is it over?
It's over, Bobbin. What just happened there is that we are now experienced enough with weaving spells that we have unlocked a new note on the distaff. Now we can cast drafts that utilise the F note. And that's another thing that kind of... it's just to do with the way that the game progresses. You can't skip out huge sections of the game by just knowing which spell you need to cast on which thing. You have to experiment with all of the different interactions in order for Bobbin to become experienced enough with using the loom, not the loom, the distaff, that he can actually learn those specific notes. So that's that. Okay. Just examine these seagulls. So he's trying to open this clam. Okay, and this seagull appears as a cameo in The Secret of Monkey Island. If you've watched my playthrough of that, it actually says in the end credits of that game, Seagull appears courtesy of Loom. Just one of several cameos from Loom in that game, because they were released sort of at the same time, really. Okay, dive in the water, get onto the branch, and finally we can leave Loom Island. Alright, there's land just in front of us here, and there is this huge thing, whirlwind, which is blocking our way. Water spout. Just trying to interact. There we go.
I think that's close enough.
Okay, so this does two things. First of all, it uses the F note in the draft, and that note, obviously we needed to spin all the other drafts in order to unlock F, so that means that you can't progress to the next section of the game until you have used enough of the spells, as I was just explaining. The other thing is that what we've learned from this water spout is the twisting draft. And remember that I said if you spin a spell backwards, it does the opposite effect. So this thing's all like a big twister. So if we spin this spell backwards, we can untwist it. So let's give that a try. Perfect. And now we can sail through onto the next place. Lovely. And we can use the G note on the draft as well. Okay, so we're out of Loom Island, we're on to the next bit of Bobbin's adventure. I'm going to end the episode here, and I will see you next time for more Loom. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.